What's happening, tabletop gamers? My name is LeunameGames. Welcome back to LeunameGames Unboxes. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Tiny Epic Quests by Scott Almes and published by Gamlyn Games. Let's have a look at the back here and see what this is about. A once peaceful world has been torn asunder by an army of goblins invading from beneath the land's crust. It's up to the players to prove their valor through slaying goblins, learning ancient spells, completing quests, and acquiring powerful items that equip right to your meeples. Can you move your heroes to complete quests before your opponents do? Will the horse get you there fast enough? Or will you need to take the griffin? Will you press on to complete one more goal? Or should you rest to ensure a better tomorrow? Looking at the back here, it kind of gives me a little bit of a video game vibe where you're trying to go around completing quests or whatnot to defend the world. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I enjoyed that kind of stuff. So with all that said, let's have a look and see what does Tiny Epic Quests have to offer us. The game comes with 4 player boards, and they all have a variety of things that you need to know. They all have a track at the top here, and this is where you're going to keep track of your health and your power. Fortunately, the game comes with a health token and a power token for each player that allows you to keep track of your various assets. There's also a maximum token of health and power, and this is basically to help you keep track of what your maximum power and your health can be. Each player also has an ability, and it's the same ability for each player at night, where you can spend 2 power to do a couple things. Each player, however, has this track here, or this grid rather, that shows the various equipments that you'll start the game with: a sword, a shield, and I'm assuming that's a staff. And these actually have different diagrams on each one. I'm not entirely sure what this is supposed to mean. I'm assuming it's maybe you'll get a benefit if you enter these certain areas with that specific equipment. I'm not entirely sure. But the abilities for each of these are exactly the same for the sword, the shield, and the staff. There's also a section on the bottom of each of your player cards, and this allows you to keep track of all the quests that you've completed. In addition to that, each player is also given what they call a spell token, which is basically what you use to keep track of how many spells that you have access to. In addition to that, there's also the meeples themselves that each player gets. Each player gets 3 of them, and it's purposeful that they do have holes in the side because these are actually meant to be able to hold various items that you'll have throughout the game. Finally, in regards to what the players have at their disposal, there are these adventurer cards. And this is kind of way to basically show whether you want to continue on your adventure or you want to rest up. They're all the same except for the colors. There's a little objective or requirement, and rather, that is listed on the rest side, and a little diagram that's showing effects of dice on the adventure side. In addition to that, there is a series of map tiles, and this is basically what's going to make up the board for the game. Each of these boards has a little roadway divided up by a river and 2 sides with a various encounter that can happen. Each player starts with their own, represented by a castle and starting village, as well as an opportunity to gain a certain type of spell. And then outside of that, you have temples, you have, I'm assuming that's like ritual sites, and you have various encounters where you can fight goblins, or you got this little mushroom thing, not entirely sure what that is. And they are double-sided to represent the various day and night cycles that will happen throughout the game. There is also a magic track that comes with the game with a token to represent the track, which is a little mushroom. Now, I'm not entirely sure what this is supposed to represent. I'm assuming it's basically where as the master track goes higher, maybe that's the limit to how many spells you're allowed to have. I'm not entirely sure. There is a spell library on the bottom here, and I'm assuming that is where the players will keep track of the various spells that they've collected throughout the game using their little spell markers. There is a deck of quest cards, and this basically is going to be the crux of the game. Each of these has an objective that you need to meet in a certain way, and if you manage to pull it off, you get a reward that is listed in the bottom of the card. And this will allow you to get various bonuses like gaining power, gaining spells, or even getting special items to use later in the game. There is one last card in the game, and this is basically representing the round card. And it has a little token here that looks like, I'm assuming that's supposed to be an adventure character. And this is basically going to help you keep track of what round of the game that you are in. There is a double-sided first player token with one side covering up the, I'm assuming that's like a mask or something, I'm not entirely sure. And I'm not entirely sure why it also has it set to where one side it's like it's allowed and one side is not. Maybe once I read the rule book that'll become clearer. But it is double-sided. There are 5 movement cards, and this is basically how you are going to get your adventurers to move around the board. Whether it's on horseback by going horizontally, going by ship to around the coast, by raft along the river, griffin by going in various diagonal directions, or you could just walk there by foot in any direction. There's a whole bunch of goblin tokens, and they are double-sided, one side showing an ordinary green goblin, one showing a red goblin, which I'm assuming is supposed to be like a tougher goblin, and it's supposed to be kind of like given a penalty if you end up confronting it, because there's a little symbol down here with the meeple and a -1 on the power. There are 5 dice that come with the game, and these basically represent how, I'm assuming rather, how you're going to deal with certain encounters, whether it's by taking damage, capturing magic, maybe attacking a goblin, gaining power, having a scroll, or having a torch. Not sure what all these symbols mean, but I'm assuming based off the very limited amount that I've looked at that what I've just stated is how they're supposed to go. And I have to say, I am very happy that they decided to engrave the dice rather than simply just painting the faces on. That means that these sides on the dice are going to last a lot longer. There are a whole bunch of items that come with the game, and this is what I was talking about earlier, where you can have these actually go inside your individual heroes and basically have them carry them with them on your various adventures. There are 12 of these that are considered treasure items, and this is, there are 12 of these that are considered treasure items, and these are basically ones that you don't get at the start of the game. You basically unlock them by completing certain quests that will award you with that item. The rest of them are considered legendary items, and those are ones that every player will start the game with. And those will be the swords, the shields, and the staffs. The remaining 12 are considered legendary items, and those are ones that every player is going to start the game with. And they are the staffs, the shields, and the swords. And then finally, there is what's supposed to be an item rack that you can use to store any of the items that you're not using. And you do need to put this together. And I'm not sure if this fits in the box. I haven't tried that yet. You know what? Let me just try that right now. And then lastly, there is supposed to be an item rack that comes with the game. And this is basically meant to store all the items that you are not using. And I gotta say, you do have to put this together every time you want to use it, because it does not fit in the box when it is built. Although, quite honestly, it does not go well together here, really, because you have to basically align these two things together, and it is incredibly easy for it to fall apart, whether it's because of this little bottom here sliding out, or these two sliding apart. And honestly, the items themselves don't really fit well in this at all either. So quite honestly, you can just do without that. So that is everything you will get if you obtain Tiny Epic Quests. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to learn how to play Tiny Epic Quests, or if you want to know my thoughts on it, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more tutorials, reviews, and unboxings. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.